Hi, I've just gotten back from a trip to Minnesota and where I kept a travel journal. And the last spreads of this are just pencil sketches waiting to be painted. And so I think I'm going to go ahead and work on some of that with you. And then another time I'll give you a tour of the whole sketchbook. I have here my travel watercolors, some acrylic gouache, some Neoart pastels, and colored pencils. And I just will use whatever suits my fancy as I'm working. Okay, I've zoomed in here a bit so you can see what I'm doing a little better, see some of that sketch marks. I'm also popping up a photo that I am doing this from. So the sketch I had already done, but as I'm painting, I'm referring back to that photo I took of this area, and I was really fascinated with all the roots, and this was right by our camp spot, so I got to sit and look at it a bit. The earth here under the trees was kind of a reddish brown, and so that's where I'm starting at, kind of the negative spaces around the trees. I'm not worried about staying totally true to color here. It's more the feel of the place, and it's pretty much all about the root structure in this. So in my travel journals, I never worry too much about being totally photo perfect. I have my photos for that. So in my artistic, my journal, my sketches and my paintings, I'm more interested in just kind of capturing the feel of the place, kind of emphasizes the part that really fascinated me about it. I feel totally free to shift things up, to change the composition, to change the colors, just kind of play and have fun with it as I go. It's more about a reminder to me of that time and place than it is a visual record or a accurate record. As I lay down some watercolor, I'm really focusing on where those really dark areas are. I'm using that photo to kind of guide me in that, and then from there, once I get that established, then I kind of just wing it from there. I've used some almost neon colored acrylic gouache to paint in these trees, and I have designated which side the light is coming from, so it's coming from the right, so that's the sunny side of the tree trunks that I have put that bright orange on, and that just kind of helps me keep track of the trees as I fill in the foliage all around them. I really love the variety of greens that you can get in there. I'm using a pretty big brush, a little bit bigger than what actually feels comfortable, and that just helps me keep things a little looser. My tendency is to get too detailed, but I really want to keep a little bit of a looser look, and using a bigger brush like this really helps me to do that. I'm making a jump here now in what I've gotten done, and as you can see, I've gotten some dark, really dark areas in here. It's kind of in a little bit of a cartoony looking stage now, but I'll just keep pushing forward. At this point, I'm also using some gouache, some acrylic gouache. I had been previously using mainly watercolor and traditional gouache. I'm still dipping back into that watercolor and traditional gouache, but I'm also adding in the acrylic gouache, just that's a little bit more opaque. I love that you can use all of those together and interchangeably. I think that gives a lot more potential and possibilities in what you can do. I have already added in some black ink with my Stabilo brush pen, and now I'm adding more just with a colored pencil, just really getting those dark areas established in there before I continue. I've also really been loving using these Neoart pastels. They're just like a nice balance between like a wax pastel and an oil pastel. I love that they're light fast. I really love that they don't need a have to have a finish on them. Like oil pastel, they don't stay sticky. They're more like a crayon, I guess, consistency, but really more pigmented and light fast. So those have been really fun to use. If you like the Neocolor ones, I think you would also really like these. And you can see that I'm really changing up the colors here. I'm putting some turquoise in. I'm not staying true to the original colors, although the greenery, like the leaves and all of that, I'm still having be green. I think that it's much more successful to shift colors if you leave part of the colors normal or natural and choose only like one element to really shift up. In this case, I've chosen the tree trunks, the roots, all of that area to shift the color on, and left the earth and the branches a little bit more natural colored. I feel like pieces like this are all about patience in building up the layers, not getting in too big of a hurry, and just keep adding and adding and adding and until you're satisfied with the result. I'm going back in with that brush pen a little bit more now. I'm also decided to kind of add in some more rocks. The area was very rocky, so I decided I needed some more rocks in the area. I have mixed feelings about this pen work. Again, it lends to kind of a cartoon feel, but so do the colors. So I don't know if that's all bad to have. It's just a different look, a different style. And my sketchbooks are all about trying out some different things, so why not? So it's good to experiment and play around, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So I'm just adding a bunch of these there was birch trees in the mix, and so I'm just kind of, how do I want to represent those? So I'm just kind of adding some of that pen work and also getting in some of those really dark spaces. The problem comes that I tend to get really carried away when I use this because it's frankly very fun to use. I love how juicy it is, and the brush tip is a really nice size, and it's very easy and satisfying to use. So I'm just going to continue on for a bit. Now I'm switching back to colored pencil again and really looking at those highlights, adding in some bright color, in this case some oranges, in on those trees, just making them really pop. Remembering to label this, which I often forget, so I'm glad for that. You always think you're going to remember exactly where this was, and then of course later I don't remember. So glad to have that labeled. Looks like that's finished up. I have some more sketches to do another time. Keep seeing little bits to just touch up here and there, adding in bits, but it's pretty much done. I'll pop the reference photo back up here for a peek at that. As you can see, it's quite a different look, but definitely takes me back to the feel of that campsite with kind of a playful illustrative version.